Hi everyone, I'm David. I'm the owner of Acer Images. I'm a full-time wedding and portrait photographer for Melbourne in Australia. I had a question yesterday put on YouTube. Someone asked me whether they should purchase the A7S or the A7 II. So I thought I'd go over the cameras that I've got and how I use them for what I use them for each purpose. So we might go through each one individually. So I'll start first with the A6000. Okay, so what I thought we'd start with is the Sony A6000. This is an APS-C camera, so there's a 1.5 crop factor involved. So if you put a 30mm lens on here, it ends up being about a 50, or 35mm lens ends up being about a 50, 52. That can be really good because if you need more reach, it's a way of getting your lens to get further if you were shooting wildlife or sports. I bought this camera as a travel camera, but also I use it in my wedding business or portrait business for anything that's moving very fast, because the tracking on this is really, really good. And it also has about 10 frames per second, I think, which is similar to what I was using with my Nikon D4S. So if I did want to get something moving, I will use this camera. It does have a reticulating screen, like all the other models. That's one thing I've become to love, unlike the Nikons that I had where you never had that feature. I'm using it all the time. I can look low, I can bring it up high and then look down. It's amazing technology. There is a flash built into this camera, and I found one of the great advantages of the way this works is if I hold that down like that, I can actually bounce the flash off the ceiling. I'd never liked direct flash, so being able to do that is really actually handy. You can fire off camera flash with this as well, so there is a hot shoe. It's really good. The normal modes, like anything else, you can shoot manual, go into shutter priority, aperture priority, or program mode. I tend to just shoot manual or aperture mode. They all use the same battery, so that's a real bonus. So you only have to buy one type of battery, even though they do use a lot, but you can use the same battery for all of them, and even the same memory card. A lot of the other camera models are specific, so you have to format them to put them in, but I can use the card from this and just drop it straight into one of the others. It's really good. What else? So it is interchangeable lens, so you can take the lens off, so it is mirrorless. And you can put these lenses on these cameras, and I'll talk a little bit about that later. I'm probably going to do a lens review tomorrow. So that's the A6000. Great little camera. It's small enough almost to fit in your camera jacket or your jacket if you wanted to. Not quite small enough to put in your pocket though, unless you had really big pockets. But great to carry around. It does have HDMI and a USB. It does have Wi-Fi as well. All of these can be operated from your camera, an iPhone or an Android phone. The only thing is you can't do microphone into this, so there's no microphone port. You may be able to get one for the hot shoe up the top, I'm not sure, I'll have to research that. So that's the A6000. Okay, next I'm going to take you through the A7 IIs. That's this camera. Great to hold in your hand. There's a beautiful bit that sticks out on the end here which lets you get a nice grip. I'll try and hold it around so you can see it. Again, it has the screen that will come out, the reticulating screen. I just wish that they did come right out though, like the GH4, but well, perhaps that's something they can do later on. Again, you can control whether you want to shoot in manual, shutter speed or aperture, etc. on the top up here, your flash hot shoe. The viewfinder on this is really, really good. It's electronic. So unlike the Nikon that I used to have or a Canon, this is what you see is what you get. So basically when you look through, you're actually looking off the sensor. So that's one thing I've found that I love, because now when I'm planning a shot, I can actually see the exposure before I actually take the shot, rather than sort of having to guess and then hoping that it was okay. I now know if it's going to be okay. Beautiful. I really like these. These are my main cameras that I'll use for the weddings. We have two of them. Obviously, one is for my wife, who's my assistant, and I'm using the other one. We set them both up exactly the same, and that way we can just swap or do whatever we need to do. Fantastic. The only issue that I've found with all of these is the naming. I wish Sony would come up with a way that you could rename your files to say, for instance, A7 I, A7 II, so that when you bring them onto the computer, they're not all the same file name. That's a real issue that I wish that they'd solve. The other thing too is that they do only have a single memory card slot, and I think that's a bit of a disadvantage compared to all the Nikons that I had that had two. But I've never had a card that's failed, and I've bought a backup solution that I will discuss in another video up shortly, that how I'm going to back up my files during a wedding, which I think is really quite good. So I'll talk about that one later on. Now this is the one that I've just got, which is the A7 R2. I've been blown away by this camera. It's just amazing. It's 46 megapixels, I think, or 42, I can't remember. It sort of has replaced my D810. So I was worried when I initially left the Nikon that I couldn't replace my D810. I didn't think that the 7R, the original one, was really worth it for me. But as soon as they brought out the image stabilization on this and the new sensor, I jumped at it. Oh, by the way too, this has image stabilization as well. So these have 5-axis image stabilization. So you can put on a non-stabilized lens and it becomes stabilized with 3-axis. It's 5-axis if the lens has stabilization as well. The A6000 doesn't have stabilization, but you could obviously put a lens in that's stabilized, so you could still get stabilized lenses. This has the stabilization as well. The shutter is much improved over the last version, because the previous version was really loud and clunky. Some people were reporting problems with it affecting the actual image. I never used one, so I can't talk about that. But I've been so happy with it. Again, it's got the same articulating screen, or reticulating screen, I think it's articulating. And the 4K internal on this one. There's been overheating issues I've been seeing on the internet. I haven't had any of that yet, so I've been actually shooting with this for around about an hour inside, but it is winter here in Australia, so I'm not sure whether it will be an issue once it warms up. But I have done it in the house with the full central heating on, and it hasn't overheated, and I've been shooting for an hour without it going off. Hopefully it's not going to be a problem. I do have a Shogun though, which is what I'm recording on this now. So if it is going to be an issue, I'll actually record with that, and I'll even talk about that one day as well. So yeah, it's great. Love the weight. It feels like a tank. It's terrific. So why would you choose, say, for instance, the A7R Mark II over the A7? Well, if you wanted 4K internal, obviously, you would go for this one. There is an A7S II that apparently is going to be able to be purchased next month, I think, or November. It goes up for pre-order today. So if you did want one, you could get one. But out of these two, it really just depends. If you weren't interested in shooting 4K, I would probably tend to just get the A7 II. If you were interested in doing what I do, which is fusion, so where I'm mixing the video and the still images, I would get this camera. Personally though, I just love this. I think it's just amazing. The ability to be able to crop into an image is amazing. The 4K shooting is amazing. But we'll look at that over the next few months when I start to show what I produce with it. Yeah, now the A7, which I'm recording on now, that's amazing. I bought that to use in low light shooting in receptions, things like that, where I really had to get the low light was an issue, because being a wedding photographer, a lot of the late night shoots that we do and the wedding shoots are really late in the evening. So what I wanted to do was get a camera that I thought I could shoot with fairly high ISO. And I have been able to take that up to about 56,000, and the images are still pretty good. These I can take to about 32 to 64 without a problem. This will I haven't tested, to be honest, so I've still got to test this to see how far I can take this up, but I believe it will go up fairly high. Whereas the A7S, I can literally shoot with that in the dark. So that's an amazing camera that I can use to pull out in a reception, to do a late night shoot, portrait shoot with just lighting, something like an ice light, something like that, or even natural lighting at night time. So that's the main use that I had for the A7S. Also, I bought that so I could do the video and the fusion in weddings. And again, we'll look at that over the next few weeks. Over the next few days, I'll talk about lenses and what I use. And please, if you can, subscribe to my channel, and hopefully you'll like what you see, and ask any questions down below. And you can also add me on Facebook if you'd like to have a chat through there as well. And that's about it. So until next time, catch you later.